How's it going, YouTube? Tyler the Hotshot hauler here. Let's talk about, do you need a dispatch service for hotshotting? Okay? And what I mean by this is essentially some form of basically somebody else helping you with loads, okay? So many guys out there will hire actual dispatch companies, or they'll be leased on to underneath somebody, and that includes dispatch services. And obviously, as a driver, that makes it incredibly easy for you because they just get you loads and you go all around. Okay, well, as a owner operator like myself, this is something that you're probably going to think pretty hard on. And I know most of us, when we start, we just do our own dispatching and load finding and stuff like that. And you're going to learn probably by about your 90-day mark that it's incredibly difficult to look for loads and get loads and all that stuff while you're on the road. And if you're doing it all yourself, it's incredibly difficult. So in the short answer, do I feel that you need a dispatch service? I would say you don't necessarily need to hire a company, but it would be very beneficial to have some form of somebody like some form of a dispatch service. So let me get into that. So for example, like me, I'm not leased on to anybody. As you guys know, I operate under my own authority, and so I don't have a dispatch service in that aspect. I also don't hire any dispatch services. I have built a relationship with numerous brokers to the point where I am pretty fortunate that when I'm on the road that I can call them, and most of the time, I don't want to say most, I'll say probably about 50% of the time they can snag me a load, and they don't charge me any fees or anything like that because I'm helping them out and they are helping me out. So it kind of goes hand in hand. With that though, I also have my wife at the house. She doesn't look for loads for me, but if I'm able to snag a load, then she does all the paperwork for me. So that's what I have in my corner, because finding loads is half of the battle. The other half of the battle is doing all the paperwork. And if you haven't been registered with a brokerage or anything like that before, you have to fill out all the paperwork, as you guys know. So it's a pain in the butt to stop when you're on the road to sit there and fill out the paperwork, and then you fill out the initial paperwork, and then you got to wait for them to send you the rate con to sign that. And obviously you can't do it while you're driving, so you can lose time anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes even more, because sometimes they really drag their feet. Now granted, you can make the most of it on the flip side of that. You can eat, you can relax, you can do that type of stuff, but you have to remember, any time that you're not rolling with a load and those wheels aren't turning, you're not making money. So that's something you always have to think about. Now, really the only time that I do it all myself is, let's say, for example, that I am dropping a load and the next day I don't have anything. Those are the days where I will get a hotel, or the nights I should say, and I get a late checkout the next day. And I would say about 80% of the time I can snag a load before noon, going in the direction I want. Yeah, granted, there's freight going anywhere, but I don't want to just go anywhere. Like many of you guys know, I'm a regional hotshotter. So I try to keep to a region, and I try to be home, to keep my wife and my family and everything like that happy. So all that stuff's important to me. So, so my wife really stepped up, and really she wanted to learn, the basics. And she really helps me, because just with her doing all the paperwork for me, and we go over it together on the phone every time, and it saves me tremendous, because that's 20-30 minutes where I'm on the road heading towards wherever I need to go. So now granted, always that doesn't work out because there's bad service in parts of the US, so sometimes I do have to stop anyways, but it's still nice to know I have that in my corner. Now a lot of guys maybe don't have that luxury, and really their only option might be to, sorry, I thought I saw my load shifting on the trailer. Sheer panic for a quick second. A lot of guys maybe don't have that luxury, and they do have to hire dispatch services. Now, let me tell you, every dispatch service who's ever called me, they want between 8 to 15%. So if you do 8 to 15%, let's say you're getting screwed at 15%. No, okay, well, let's find a middle ground. Realistically, a middle ground's probably 10%. It's probably the most common that I've seen. So you're losing 10% off the top. And then on top of that, if you do factoring, okay? Well, let's talk about dispatch services. Now, this is just me, but I don't want some other company out there telling or basically getting loads for me. One, because it is my business moving this freight. So I want my business to find this freight, okay? So not only does, in my opinion as a business owner, I think it looks kind of bad when you have other people doing your legwork, like, oh, hey, this is so-and-so from a dispatch service, and we are dispatching on regards of this company, is this load available? I don't think it gives you that ability. It gives you you're not going to be able to build the rapport with brokers using a dispatch service. And let me tell you, like I said earlier, I've built rapport with numerous brokers, and they keep me busy just by phone calls. I get phone calls, I would say minimum I get 5 phone calls a week from brokers saying, hey, can you move this? Where are you? Yada, yada, yada. And they know I'm regional, and they have even held loads for me to deadhead. They've paid me ridiculous amounts of money to deadhead to get loads because they trust me, and I built that rapport, okay? And if you use a dispatch service, you're not going to have that. Yes, granted, you don't have to worry about where your loads are going to come from, but you also need to think, okay, this dispatch service is dispatching for how many Hotshotters? Okay, so not only how effective is said dispatch company, but they're dispatching for everyone. They don't care, you're just a number. You are just another phone number for them on a roster, in an order, however they do it, region, wherever you are, and they're going to send you wherever. And on top of that, you're going to get constant phone calls. That just doesn't appeal to me. So let's sum this up, okay? So here's how I started. I started with just me, myself, and I doing everything. And I realized by about the 60-day mark that I was getting killed. And I was struggling, and I was running into problems with not being able to get freight. It was killing me. Okay, just long story short, it was hurting me, and it was hurting the business. It was stressing me out. I was running into not only that, but constant issues of I would get freight, but then they wouldn't give it to me because my authority was too new. So that mixed with everything is something that nothing is more frustrating than having loads and they won't give it to you because your authority is too new. And that's something that if you start your own authority, you need to prepare for. On a side note, and truly, until you surpass your first year, you need to worry about that, because there's numerous companies out there that won't even give you freight until you finish your first year. Most of them are 90 days. A lot of them are 6 months, and some of them are a year. So basically, until you clear that first year, that's something you always have to worry about, and it always seems to screw you at the worst possible time, like when you are begging for loads because and they can't give it to you because they're all corporate. So that is something to prepare for. But like I said, that's basically what I was running into. And then I started building, I went out to all my local businesses nearby, and that, I move a lot of local freight, like within state. That keeps me pretty busy. And then, like I said, I built relationships with brokers, and that helps me out a lot. Yes, it's not something I can rely on, but it's something that they can help me out a good majority of the time, and they do, and they know I'm reliable and stuff like that. And then, my wife offered to learn at least how to do the time-consuming part of getting loads, and that's the paperwork. And I'm so grateful for all that. And that's something that, guys, every part of hotshotting is growing. And you have to grow in a sense of how you feel is right, okay? And there's some guys out there that, they want to grow with the dispatch service, and they want to go all around the U.S. They don't care where they go. And it really doesn't put a face to the company, okay? But if you are an owner-operator, nothing is more valuable than not only getting your name and your company out there and all that type of stuff, putting a face to it, but people know that when they call you, it's you answering the phone and that you are reliable. And if you use a dispatch service, all that is going to go away. And so that is a choice you have to make. You have to figure out what works best for you. I know there's tons of guys out there who claim that, you know, that they self-dispatch and they make minimum $10,000 a week, or minimum like $8,000 to $12,000 a week, yada yada yada. I think a lot of that's a bunch of baloney. I think, you know, that when you get into this business, you kind of start to learn how half of those people in social media groups are liars, and probably half of them don't even hotshot, they just troll people. And you learn what's realistic and what's not realistic, and you learn lessons on a totally separate point. But a lesson that I learned is it is so important, and I'm glad that I chose the right path for me. It is so important for me to not use a dispatch service and keep everything with me and my company and my business to make those relationships, and it is worth it. Okay, guys, that is my outlook on it. So guys, if you have any comments or questions, anything like that, don't hesitate to ask or put them in the comment section. Like I said, using a third-party dispatch service is not for me, okay? But you got to figure out what works for you, okay, guys? If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and stay tuned for more Hotshot content as always. Thank you.